why this relationship is important and why, what we're doing, what you need to consider when when you're going about, moving things along, and how this can help your business grow and expand. And in the chat here, if here's the question for everyone who's attending the call today. Do you currently have a banking deposit account for your business? And another question I want to ask as well is, if you don't, why do you think you don't either need one, or why have you not like gotten a business account, if you have a business? And because that, lots of things like that are kind of curious for, as I'm kind of curious about, if folks, if folks are like, if they have some type of apprehension, or just, they're not ready to take the plunge. There's some questions they need to have answered, like, well, I don't know about this. Those are definitely things we want to kind of hear about as well, so we can kind of talk through those. And if you have any questions of anything that I'm talking about, or any questions of your own that that you've thought of, that you just, you're wondering about, maybe you have a question, that's probably why you signed up today, just put it into the chat, and we can talk about that here at the end of the presentation. I definitely want to answer as many questions as I can for folks who have like, for folks who've been wondering about, some certain, things as it comes to business banking. And so the first topic we'll talk about here will be types of commercial banking services. And these are the three that I kind of wanted to focus on. And then there's a couple more after that. The business checking and savings account. These two are crucial. I've seen this type of product used different ways depending on what type of a business you have, and how you want to facilitate transactions through, in and out of the account. And this is really like, it's great to have, a business checking account that, not only, do you have available like information on the, information available to you online, but also you want to make sure that, you know, that um, that you're able to get the information out of these accounts that you need to do your bookkeeping. And so, and this is where some of that ties into some of the bookkeeping, software out there. And so we'll kind of talk more about that in a bit, and kind of do the overview of that. And then we move over to merchant services. And this is more so about those, those tools and those kind of hardware kind of, products that would be needed to, for your business to accept, credit cards, debit card transactions, anything electronic that, that would take place as far as a transaction, for your business to do business. And here at the end, we have cash management. And this would be, like I was mentioning, the day-to-day administration of managing, the cash that goes in and out of all of your accounts. And this, I've seen this used a lot of different ways as well. And this also depends on the type of, there's a lot of other services that are provided for this, but it really, some of the other things that, that really, like, that you can talk with your banker about would be, what your business does, and like how busy of a business you have. Like if you have, if you have hundreds of transactions coming through each and every day, you're probably going to want to implement some type of system of where you're kind of monitoring certain types of transactions, especially, to make sure that your books are keeping in line with what, with how things are being operated, for your business. And so, that's just kind of like an overview or high level view of what that could look like for manage, or at least for considering this type of a product. And then I think we have some more right here. Business loans and credits. It's the business loans and credit. This is another product that a lot of financial institutions have within their with their systems. And this is something that is offered, as not only do the banks offer, for you to just to do business, and to to monitor and track all of your transactions, but also to provide necessary capital and finding solutions for businesses to be able to not only just manage to manage what they're doing with inside the bank, but also outside with their relationships, from third parties or whoever there is paying them for services. If there's a project that needs some money and you currently don't have the capital to get those projects done, that's where a lot of these products can come in, like maybe a line of credit or something, that'll help you get things, accomplished for the business to keep growing and to get kind of to get the business in a more um, better position for facilitation of the business itself. And then we go into the middle here at online banking. Online banking, it's really, it used to be such a new a new product. Now everyone has online banking, and which is great because it really helps move along the process for business owners to really focus on doing their business instead of trying to manage what they have to, and taking a lot of time to actually manage their accounts. And so one of these would be of course mobile banking, but there's a lot of um, not only with your mobile phone, but also, with your computer, just going onto the website and getting all the documents that you need, monitoring your accounts there, and some of the services that are provided, of course, would be, if you're needing to make fund transfers between your accounts, if you're needing to pay bills, there's online, software programs for you to complete those kinds of services. Account management, of course, financial reporting. This piece here is what I wanted to kind of touch on more about would be, if you're using QuickBooks, depending on who your financial institution is and the types of systems, the online banking software programs, or those kinds of systems that are set up, that'll allow, if you're able to, under or at least check the requirements for what those are. A lot of them are cohesive, or at least they're able to work with like a lot of the accounting or bookware software programs like QuickBooks. And so, you're able to have the bank account or the software program for the bank accounts, move the information over into your QuickBooks so that you're able to, do your bookkeeping faster. So you're not having to, to type everything in or do everything more manually. Usually they just kind of flow in and you just, manage them the way you need to and kind of like break them out however you need to make those appear, or at least managing the bookkeeping that you have. And so, and that's really huge. I think that's a huge component that's important, because bookkeeping, it's not only something that needs to be done, especially if your business is busy. You're wanting to make sure that you're keeping on top of that, so that when the year ends, you close out the year and that you start getting ready to do your to file taxes for the business. And so having all that done throughout the year, maybe every Thursday, maybe every Friday, whatever, during maybe you're like afternoons on Thursdays, it's going to be for bookkeeping. And so, this is where you would kind of utilize that system in making sure that all of your accounts are up to date, especially for folks who are looking to find, small business loans. This ties into that too. You want to keep your financials up to date, especially your interim financials, which means the beginning of the year to now, or another period of time to present, on how your business is currently doing and performing right now. And as for any business owner, that's something that you I think is important for to know, and when you're keeping on top of that on a regular basis, it really allows you to not only know exactly where your business stands, but also, being able to assess any issues that you're kind of identifying throughout the financial statements, or, your profit and loss statements or your balance sheets. If anything is off and needs to be, addressed. Of course, the other is being ready to apply for a business loan. If you have last year's financials or your tax returns ready, and you have your interim financials, I think, if your business is already in a position where you have all of that, kind of ready to go, or at least, you're keeping on top of that, you're in a better position to, to kind of be like, okay, I think, here's where I see these issues, and maybe, we can find this product, we can talk to a banker about, how this, they might be able to find a business loan or a line of credit or something that can help us with these issues. And other types of services, there's a lot that banks do, and they're listed here: treasury management, um, and foreign exchange services. If you're needing to, get some foreign bills to be exchanged, handling international transactions. A lot of the bigger banks do this a lot. Currency risk and payroll services. Some banks actually do have payroll services provided with some of the services that they provide, but I'm not going to get into any of that. We're just going to focus on some of the core like components as far as just doing regular, like the basics of business, for small business at least. Um, let's see here. So the next thing would be choosing the right business account. And this is more so going to be like things to consider when you are choosing, making a decision to make this step with your business, because, and we'll get into what exactly those things are. But when we say choosing the right business account, it's it's comparing like all of these different banks. There's so many banks out there. There's online banks, there's a bank right in your town, there's a bank that's, way over here. What's the difference between all of them, and why, which one do I should how should I choose, or what should I consider when I'm like looking at doing business with any of them? And so we'll talk about that right here. And so see, these are some of the topics that that you should consider when you are looking at different banks, where you're going to be parking, doing your business accounts, as far as like for, for your operating account, or for, all kinds of things like that. Getting kind of parched. Let me drink some of this. Mm. Okay, let's see here. So the first topic would be low opening deposit requirements. So this would mean like what it would take for you to open the account, to start that relationship, how much money is required to open a business account. And some banks require, $10,000, some require 1,000, some are $100. Who would you want to open that account with? The other thing to consider is low fees. Is so this comes up when you hear of, and these are kind of the things that you want to listen about too. Because in the news you'll hear like this bank is having issues because they have the most fees. We don't have these fees. Or at least when you're looking through, like when you're considering that relationship with bank, if they don't have the fees up front as far as what's associated with the account, go ahead and ask the banker, whoever you're dealing with, for a list of what those fees are. Because not only just for having the account, but also, other types of products or things that the bank has that they're, that you might consider using a lot. Like if you need to use cashier's checks or paying for wire transfers, you know, are you going to consider the $50 wire transfer, or the bank that has $20 if you do that a lot? Another would be for the account itself. Like some banks will charge you for the amount of transactions that you're using inside of an account, or some of them don't have fees, for those types of things. And so, making sure that you get a brochure. If that information is not in the brochure, try to look for something that says no, no account usage fees or things like that. You'll want to go with something like that, because the one thing you that you want to do is avoid fees for your bank. You definitely want to keep that down to zero as much as you can, just so that you can use your business, the funds that you're using for your business, for other things that are important to get done for the business itself. And so unless these are fees that you can't get away from, you definitely want to look for the bank that has the lowest for those. And then high transaction limits. This is what I was talking to about the fees, because if your business has so many transactions, the bank might have a fee for you for each one that goes over a certain limit. So you'll want to look for those. And we're going to get into what that looks like here. I have a brochure that we're going to kind of go through, and it touches on a lot of these things. And so we can kind of look through exactly what that looks like, and talk through identifying different pieces of the of a brochure when you're looking at it, and where some of these points are kind of shown on the brochure. And so the next is nearby branches. And this is something you want to consider, and for the types of transactions that your business is doing. So if your business is doing, and this is how, and remember, these are things that would be like how you're getting, money, or at least, anything that deals with money and how it's going into your business accounts. Like, are you a business that takes cash a lot? Are you cash heavy? Like, do you have to take your deposits to the bank every day? you know, or are you a business that only does online transactions? You don't know what cash is. You only deal with credit cards, or whatever online, like a facilitation of transactions with the, you know, companies for that matter. I mean, and so so what is your business doing, for those transactions? Are you a cash intensive business? How often do you need to be going to the branches for services or deposits or things that you need to do inside the branch? And in today's world, as we move into a more digital, era, a lot of this, banks, there's a lot of banks are not opening new branches. They're actually just everything's online. There's even online only banks because people have become so accustomed to just doing everything online. And so, there's also that to consider, like how, and those are usually free too. Like the more, I feel like the more folks, businesses that or banks that that are able to move things online, there's a lot more like things that are free, or they usually have a higher interest rate, on types of accounts, things like that. But anyways, considering how it relates to the business, specifically on transactions or things that you need to do for the business, and if you need to be in a physical branch to do those things. And this is where we get into the robust online services. Let's say you're like, well, I think, I probably have to send a wire. This is where it's like, okay, does the bank, a lot of some banks will allow you to do a remote wire transfer. You just have to sign an agreement ahead of time to get those things done. So you don't have to go into a branch to do that. The other thing would be, transferring funds. You don't need to be in the branch to do that between your accounts, doing that all online. And really what this is just finding an efficient way to really to doing business, and how, and realizing what kinds of things you want to consider, with your business, and how you can utilize or at least optimize your usage on some of these products. And so, and that relates to not only like, because there are some type of products that banks will have that, you know that'll be specific for a situation that just makes sense for your business. Um and those are things that you'll talk through with the banker, or whoever you're building that relationship with at the bank. And that's the other thing too, is, finding that relationship with someone there at the bank who is a real person and not a digital AI thing. Because when you're building that relationship with someone at the bank, maybe someone named Lisa, like who she's the one who opened your account. She's the one who's monitored. She knows everything about your business. And, if you need her to help you with something, you know that person, and she's going to be there to help you. And this is also true on the loan side too, with our the commercial lending piece. If you're starting a relationship with the bank, not only with just the deposits or with merchant services, but also with the loans. You want to get to know those small business lenders as well, and building those relationships with them. It really comes a long way because, you know Bernadette, she knows your business. You applied with her 5 years ago, and she's, from the moment you started with that small, $50,000 loan, and now you're working on, maybe your business has scaled, and and you had this relationship with her, and when you call Bernadette, like, hey Bernadette, I need to have, we're considering this, or these things have come up. We might consider needing some type of credit or commercial credit product from you. What will best help us with this? Or let's say, we're scaling the business, we need to buy more manufacturing, engines for something. And, we need six of them. They're going to cost us 100,000. And this is our plan for what that's going to look to make us money over the next 5 years, and this is our plan on paying you back that money. What does it look like for us? Can we afford that? And that's where the relationship comes in, because not, you're not coming into the bank, with someone you don't know, and just starting off fresh. You already know this person, and that's where those relationships really take you far. And the other piece of that is considering who the bank is. The as far as like who does this bank serve? Like, and you kind, and it's kind of like reading but between the lines. And this is where some of these topics here, like the low opening deposit requirements, these low fees, a lot of the times, like you'll see like there's a lot of fees for folks who have low deposits. And then you see like folks who have 50,000 or more, they don't have any fees, or 100,000, or even loan products too. This applies to those as well. Does this bank that you're looking at or reviewing, do they start their loans off at 100,000 or 200,000? That those are the people that they're targeting for their clientele, or the people that they're trying to help. And if you're below that, maybe that's not the place for your business to open that account. If there's a bank in your neighborhood that doesn't even do loans or business loans, to your community, maybe reconsider having your money there. Because you want to be smart about where you're taking your money and who you're building these relationships with. And who, like, are they, one of the bigger pieces about this NSBCI um, program, this project that we're working on, is the Navajo business owners being the target market. And this is a U.S. Treasury program. And the U.S. Treasury has a lot of other programs that are trying to um, target BIPOC communities, underserved communities who have traditionally been underserved. And Navajo business owners are one of them. And so one of the other things to consider too is, or at least like that helps you kind of like engage what, as far as like who some of these folks are that have that mission, like who are the partners, that are, for with Change Labs or with the Navajo Nation. Do they have accounts that I might want to consider putting my accounts with? Like one of our partners is to First Southwest Bank. They're a CDFI. That means they're a community development financial institution. And it's a designation that's given to financial institutions in the country that specifically service underserved communities, traditionally underserved communities. And they're one of two banks in the Four Corner states. The other is Native American Bank. They're up in Denver, and they service a lot of Native American tribes throughout the country. And one of our other partners is New Senda. They're also a CDFI, and they're a credit union. And one of our other lenders is Native Community Capital. They're not a bank, but they do have loan products specifically for underserved communities as well, and they're also a CDFI. And so when you're considering all these different things, it's like, okay, like maybe I should consider like starting a relationship with one of these folks, because not only am I the target market for who they're trying to help, but you also want to start like thinking about like how, if you're wanting to start those relationships with these different types of financial institutions. And so as opposed to to another bank who would just you know like I mentioned, some of those things that like that would show you, or at least kind of like how that would look, not look, but like how to consider, those types of relationships and who they're actually marketing to, and where to consider where you're going to build these relationships. And let's see here. So third party cloud software for accounting. This one we talked about. This is if the bank is able um, or at least the software programming for the online banking services is able to connect with QuickBooks or other types of servicing, like for invoicing or payroll, things like that, um, which a lot of them do now, which is really good. And so these are some of the documents. If you all want to take notes of these, if you haven't already opened a business account, these are generally documents that would be needed to open a business account. Not every bank is the same for what they require between like credit unions, banks, stuff like that, as far as like, because every bank will have their own policy on what types of documentation is acceptable and what isn't. But this is more so a generalized kind of a viewpoint on why, what certain types of documents might be needed or required, depending on who you decide to go with. DBA sole proprietor, that's if you're doing business as if you're what do you call it? Like if you don't have an LLC or you don't have a corporation and you're just yourself and you're just doing business as, as an, whatever the name is, if you're just using your name and you're like, I'm the one that's doing business, usually this is going to be information about yourself specifically, identifying information for yourself, tax ID number, maybe even your social security card. If you have a trade name, for yourself personally, the bank might need a copy of that because you might be getting checks with the trade name on it, and you want to make sure that that's associated with your account. LLC, the proof of good standing and articles of incorporation from the Secretary of State. A lot of these, these will be a bit readily available online, depending on what state you're in. They usually let you, they usually have that available, to download right away. All you need to do is a quick search and you can just print those out and have those ready. And what's really good, what's really nice to do, especially when you're starting those relationships, is to just have this information available, like have a folder or something that you keep them in case, because they're going to ask for this. And if you have it right away, that just makes the process a little easier. Proof of EIN or the tax number. This is the letter that the IRS sends you that awards the tax ID number. And that's documentation that's needed to open the account. Operating agreement. This is a business document that should have been created when the business was created. And then, which explains exactly what everyone's role in the business is, the members, what they're able to do, things like that. Business ownerships, other parties that are affiliated with the organization. ID and personal information of all signers. All the signers who will be a part of that account will need to sign. Will need to be, they would need to provide all their personal identifying information. And then, of course, the bottom would be the same for any business owners that own 25% or more. Some banks it's lower than that, maybe 20%. It just depends on who the bank is, because these, they might require some other documents, but I'm listing the most out just because, I feel like just to get all of you guys ready for like a general like kind of a viewpoint of what this could be. And then of course there's the corporation. This could be for profit or nonprofit. So a lot of the same requirements here, bylaws. This one's going to be a little different. The meeting minutes and or a letter of authorization. This would just be an official document that would come from the corporation itself saying that, with that, yes, we had a meeting about opening this account. This is what we decided, yes, we all approved it. And here's our decision on that. Here's proof of that. And that also goes along with, if there are authorized signers on the account, we're going to allow Lisa, to have access to, what so and so, whatever information that you need her to have access to. She's our bookkeeper, or whoever is going to be associated with that account. And then, of course, they would also need to provide all those personal identifying information there. And then the next topic would be online banking solutions and account review. And so here we're going to look at an example of a business banking brochure. And so, kind of losing breath here. um, so, so here on the left of the screen, we're looking for features like seamless integration with accounting software. If they say like these are if they in their brochure, if they say like we our systems can integrate well with or connect well with a lot of accounting software companies like QuickBooks or Wave Accounting, um, things like that. They might just list them out too there. Robust security features, including multi-factor authentication. This could be something they would put up front. But a lot of and now nowadays a lot of you know a lot of everything online, they have to have a certain level of security associated with having these accounts. There's also, the multi-factor or multi-level too. It would be, if you're needing to have two authorizations for one type of transaction or something, or if there's a system in place that you kind of want to include here, they might have that listed. And I think that's right here on cash management. If you see on the right of the screen, right under it says customizable security options with different levels of access for different users. So that means for this specific cash management product, for whoever's having access to certain types of accounts, they'll have different levels of things that they're able to do in those accounts. You know, like one of them would be for bookkeepers. Let's say the only thing you want the bookkeeper to do is to just download, whatever's already in the system and just put it into, the bookkeeping system. Maybe that's all you want them to do. Or maybe your chief financial officer, you want them to have all of these different levels of access for all of the accounts, things like that. Just going from like a very, like limited to to all the access. Um, let's see, competitive interest rates for business loans. This one, a lot of, some banks will post this on their website, especially if there's like a specific special program for something that they're kind of offering, to the public, like maybe there's a state-run program that they're like, hey, this is coming through, our bank, this product is available, or at least maybe this group of these organizations came together and we decided we're going to have this product available, and we're going to be the loans for everything will be 2% or something like that. And so things like that to look out for, because you're like, okay, especially if they relate to your business, you're going to want to consider that as well. um, and then reliable customer service. This is where I was touching on the building the relationship piece. If there are people there that know your name, that's a really good thing, because you'll get things done that you need to have done as quickly as you can. And a lot of times that's we've all been on the other end of the phone waiting and waiting and waiting, and sometimes they tell you that they'll let you know the next day or within the week, and you just don't want things like that, especially if it's a crucial piece of your business that needs to be done. You don't want things like that to be sitting out there waiting. Okay, so the next thing we'll do is kind of go through some of these specific products here. And so the business checking, the minimum opening deposit is $100. There's no minimum balance requirements, so that means there's no daily minimum balance required to avoid a fee. Because some banks will be like, well, your account, even though we opened you at 1,000, if it goes below that $1,000 NEJ, and we'll charge you a fee for that. And so this one doesn't charge that. But you do see here there are transaction fees. So if your business is doing more than 100 transactions, or for debits, or 250 for credits, that's what they're going to charge after, for each transaction after that point. And so that gives you a look into what their basic business checking account looks like. Let's see here. I will just touch on that one. I don't want to go through all of them. It'll just kind of be redundant. They're all kind of the same, usually they're situated in the same kind of a group, or at least the styling of the accounts are very, very similar together. And so now we look on to the right here for the business online banking. And so you see that, the online account is free for all businesses. And so there's no software to load, which is good because some banks require you to download something for that, which I think is fine. But just knowing that you can just go to a website just to get things done is really, it just makes things a little easier. They list out some of the online banking capabilities. You have managing your cash portfolios with real-time transactions. So, and they list them all out there. Performing advanced transactions, which would be online bill payment. So if you have bills that need to be paid at a certain time of the month, you're able to plan for those ahead of time. Wire transfers, stop payments, ACH originations, and tax payments. Access all types of information, including check images. This is just general access to the accounts. Um, if you need to look at checks or anything like that, that either are going out or into the accounts, it says you're able to look at the images for those checks. Chat messaging, it looks like you're able to chat with officials of this bank on the online banking platform. User alerts, if there's certain things you would like to have alerted, it's like let's say your business, you need to keep transaction debits out of the account, below 500, because that's just generally what your business does for transactions. But if you want to set alerts for yourself to be like, hey, like I want to make sure that if something is coming out, that I'm alerted, that I need to look at. Let's say, you know, transactions over $1,000 or something, or $5,000. It'll like alert you, like, hey, there's a transaction processing now for $5,000. This is what it is. And if you don't know what it is, it's good for you to know that right at the time that it's happening, so that you can work with whoever to get those things, fixed or taken care of. And so that's also good to have. I've seen bank customers use these alert features in all different kinds of ways, and I think that was one of them that they used them for. Um, let's see here: fund transfers, one-time and recurring transactions, and then select loan payments. So it says you're able to make loan payments if you have loans along with deposit accounts within that system to make payments there, or I'm not sure if that would include, if you need to, set up loan payments, if you just had like a loan with the bank. A lot of banks will have that as well, where you have access to loans and you can set up like your payments for that loan, from a bank or for a debit card. And then so down here we look at cash management. That's another product that's being offered from this bank. Customizable credit or security options. We went through that one. Account balances. A lot of these here are the same as the online banking, but this is more so for let's see here. Some of the newer items here would be stop payments. If you need it, oh, I guess that's up here as well. Enhanced bill pay, ACH and payroll origination. I think that's going to be one of the other differences here, as well as that wire transfer, domestic wire transfers. So for ACH and payroll origination, that would mean that you're able to make, not only are you able to pay your employees, if they set up like direct deposit with your company to get paid, you know, every pay period. It says that this cash management has the capability of doing that. But ACH transactions, if you're, let's say you have a vendor or someone that you're buying something from, and they just say like, hey, like we only get paid with ACHs. This is our ACH information. That's when this would come in, and you would say, and you would use this feature for that. But or at least they might say like, well, we accept these payment options, but the one we prefer is ACH, something like that. And that's where this would come in. And depending on how you want to facilitate or set up these types of, systems, that's up to you as the business to kind of, um, design how all those transactions will take place. And then domestic wire transfers, some banks will allow you to even originate wire transfers out of your accounts wherever you need them to go within the country. And that is more, that's a really high risk kind of a situation, just because, you don't want to have, I don't know, depending on how much security you have surrounding, your systems and how much money you're dealing with, that might not be something you're going to be using a lot, depending on the type of business that you have, and what payments options are, required for you to do business. All right, the next we're talking about would be commercial loans and credit. Here we have a list of different types of loan products, and credit products that banks will have for businesses. The first here is the business line of credit, something that small businesses use, on a regular basis to kind of take care of some of those, um, for any time that you're needing to just use a line of credit for specific things that are not so huge. I guess you could say like to take care of some smaller, like medium-sized items, but maybe you're waiting to get paid for something or a project, and you're like, well, maybe we need to tap into the line of credit to at least get this project done or something like that. And then you just pay it off once you get paid out for those projects. Equipment loans, this would be for things that I mentioned, machinery or equipment that would be needed to purchase. So like let's say you have a trucking company and you're needing to buy a whole new rig because you're hiring, your business is growing, everyone wants you because you have the fastest trucks or something, or at least all the shortcuts or something to get all these products to people, and you're hiring more people and you're like, okay, we need another truck. And so if you don't have the capital already on hand, the bank can help you, with that equipment loan to get that purchase for you. Here we have microloans, and this would be something that are just they're kind of they're smaller than, let's just say they're smaller than regular traditional loan product amounts. And I would say that a lot of businesses kind of hover around 100,000, um, for what businesses usually have in loans. That's usually like where businesses are at. Otherwise, microloans, they're more so to help startups, businesses that are kind of in the beginning phases of growing, or if for businesses that don't really need that much money, like maybe there's just some type of item that you're needing to purchase for, that's not over 50,000. You're like, okay, we just need to get this one thing and I think we're good. We don't want to grow, we just want to kind of like be right here, we just like where we are, and that's fine. And this is the kinship lending product that we have at Change Labs. And here we have business credit cards, um, just for transactions that are needed, that you would need as the owner, or if you think a manager might need a credit card, for business expenses. If you have, let's say you're a world-renowned artist and you pay someone to go look for, to go find the best venues for you, or you need to go to sell your artwork at a new place, and you're needing to travel a lot, but you're traveling specifically for your business. This is where the business credit card comes in. Or if you're needing to, let's say you need to, you open a new space, an office, and you just need to buy a bunch of like, you know, furniture or things like that, or let's say your desk breaks and you need to use a credit card just to make the transaction happen and to have that new piece of furniture there so you can do your work. Or if you're purchasing supplies, and this is something you want to consider for the business only because, or at least this is a great product for businesses because you have that that device in your hand that's able for you to do the transaction itself, quickly. And that does come in handy, especially for travel. Like you see travel there. And it does give, there's a lot of benefits too that some financial institutions will have, cash back, a lot of different things like that. So when you're looking at those items, just consider those different things as you are looking at using that product. Term loans, these go in with like the equipment loans and maybe even the working capital loans. These are more so like the way the term of the loan is going to be agreed upon. So, and this is something that you deal with also in the personal loan world as well. Like if you've purchased a house or if you have like a car loan, they tell you like we're giving you 60 months, this is the interest rate, this is how much you're going to pay every month for this, for the for the 60 months. And this is what exactly what that is. There are similar loans like that for businesses. If you get the business equipment loan, there's going to be a term that you have to follow for that, and that'll all depend on the lender on what type of product they think would be best for you to use for different types of lending situations. And this is the working capital part too, like, and this would be, this is a short-term business loan if you're needing to, to pay for certain things, expenses in a short period of time. So let's say you need some extra cash because you're not sure exact, or at least you're needing to hire some new people, or there's some type of expense that's coming up that you might need some support with, and you just need a small short-term loan for that. Then this would come in for that. Or let's say, like, and this could also be a line of credit as well. Let's say you work for the tribe or someone who, let's say the way their payments, their invoicing works is that it's an hour long, or not an hour long, a month long for you to get paid. And so let's say you send in your invoice and you've been noticing it takes them 1 or 2 months for you to get paid. And so that's where some of these kind of come in to kind of help alleviate some of that, until those payments come in to help alleviate some of that, some of those issues that might come up. But that's a whole nother discussion for how you want to think about those types of relationships and how to go about them. But and a lot of this, when you're thinking about commercial loans and credit, when you're building that relationship with with the financial institution, with whoever the lenders are going to be, talking through exactly what your business needs, and the lender will be the one. This is when that partnership, that relationship comes in. They'll be the one to tell you, like, okay, you know, let's, so this is how we're going to do, these are the types of products that we have for these specific things, and this is what we could do here. This is what we have for you right here. We'll have this one, we have a different, situation for you right here. Or at least they'll go through all of the options and the products available that specifically, kind of are specific to your situation. And that's where that relationship comes in. The bank or the personal manager that's managing the relationship comes in because they know who you are. And then this is just more so of an overview of all the different types of products that you might want to consider when it comes to running the business. And then oh, it looks like we're getting to the end of the conversation here. If you guys want to answer, if you want to scale the answer to this question of a 1 to a 5 about how you felt about the discussion today about business banking, and how did the information feel for you? Do you feel more prepared to do business banking now? And that'll help us kind of that'll help me, kind of understand exactly what a lot of folks, or at least the folks in this discussion, are considering, or at least the questions that they have, that, for what they're considering when it comes to running their business. So let's get into the questions, and then if there's any more that come up, I will answer them the best I can. Let's see here. Okay, so we're going to go through the first polling here. So it looks like we have some yeses. We have one no. We have two no's for if you have a deposit account. And if you have responses to your no's as to why you don't have one, if you want to put them in the chat. If you don't have a business, that's totally fine. That totally makes sense. But if maybe there's something that you're not sure about, maybe you didn't know what kind of documents you needed to open the account. Maybe that section of the presentation really helped you kind of gain a better understanding of what exactly you need as far as documentation is concerned. But I love seeing that there's a lot of yeses here, so that's a good sign, or at least that's really that's nice to hear because, or at least to see, because it means that your business, you're actually doing business, as the LLC or the corporation, whatever, however you're doing that, and that's really that's what people that's what banks or at least um, financial institutions, even for you as a business owner, that's a good sign because that means you're actually doing business and you're doing those transactions with a financial institution. Um, Danelia, what is the advantage of a bank versus a credit union? So and this is where this is where you look at the different loan products that are being offered. Not loan not only just the loan products, but also the deposit accounts. How are they set up? What are the requirements for those things? What types of things are you needing to get? What kind of services are you needing out of the bank or the financial institution? If let's say you're considering a bank and then or at least maybe a credit union, you see that they have all the they have deposit accounts that are for small businesses, but you look over at the loans and maybe the loans all start at 250,000. Maybe not where you want to go with where you're starting that relationship, but you look at this other bank or credit union and you see that okay, the accounts, they're really to start the account or the relationship with them, it's a really low, low balances, no monthly service requirements, nothing like that, no daily balance requirements, and they have loans that are in a they start at maybe 25,000, and they go all the way up. And so it's like, okay, I think maybe that's something I might want to consider more in starting a relationship with those folks. Are they all online? Are these people specifically just online? And when you call them, you're talking to a robot? Or is this, you call them, you started that relationship, and Susan, at the bank or the credit union that is going to be able to help you with what the things that you need, things like that. I hope that answers your question. um, and if it doesn't, just feel free to, put more questions in here. Next question, how do you approach a bank with starting the conversation about getting the services from the bank? Every time I have gone, it has all, they always give me a 1800 number to call, and it says she uses a specific commercial bank. And so this part is where that relationship comes in. And if you're dealing with a community oriented bank of where you're talking to individuals there, and and you start that relationship with them as opposed to a conglomerate that is just that's so huge that you just get the 1-800 number. This is where you're like, okay, maybe we need to look for someone that is local, someone who we're the target market for, who wants to help us. Maybe that's where I need to start looking. And because when you start that relationship with the bank, they're probably going to ask you when you're opening the account. They're going to do a whole interview with you about what your business is, what your business does, and specific things that you're kind of wondering about what your business might need. If there's special challenges that your business keeps running into, that's where they should have an understanding of specific types of loan products, not loan products, but also retail banking products or services that will be useful for you to use when you're banking with them. And so that's where when you're weighing the options, that's where that comes in. It's like, okay, who do I know who I'm gonna be able to talk to? How in depth of transactions or this relationship do we need to get to? You know, and for a lot of small business owners, it's important to, it all these things are going to be important. And so I can see, a lot of small businesses gravitating towards more of those community oriented banks or financial institutions or credit unions. And so just trying to see who those folks are and get, calling them, learning more about who they are, where you're located, maybe, maybe you're not a cash intensive organization, but you just want to know where the bank is at in case you have to go there, and understanding where the nearest locations for those might be, in providing the services that you think you might need. And of course, like maybe, there's and that's just the commercial banking kind of like situations that you want to think about. The other pieces of that would be, if you're also wanting to keep your personal like banking products or services to be serviced at the same bank as your business, and so that just makes it a little bit more, you're having to consider a lot of different things as well. But I've seen people who just have a business relationship with a certain bank, and then they have all their personal accounts with whoever, because you know they just have a debit card and they just want all their transactions online. That's it. And so it just depends on what you're looking for and how, and exactly like, like where you want those, how you want those integrations to be easy to facilitate. um let's see here. Can the different usage fees be negotiated? This is a really good question. And this depends on the bank. A lot of the big banks will not negotiate fees, um, but some banks will negotiate the fees depending on a lot of different circumstances. But that's really something you might want to, bring up during a conversation when you're working with the bank. So let's say you're like, well, I have this many transactions. Is there another product here that I can use to bring down those fees? Because I'm looking at the monthly fees and what my current transaction list is. I'm going to be paying like $5 extra, just to have this account for what my current load is like. Maybe they might be able to negotiate to raising that limit just so that they can gain that relationship with your accounts. And that's a great question, because the banks are also, looking at, not only gaining those new relationships with you as a new customer, but also, having those deposits in their bank as well. And so, that's where the negotiation comes in. It's like, okay, like how can we, how can the bank help you even more, especially when we look at these fees. But sometimes they're not negotiable. Maybe there's like a software program that they use from a third party, and there's always going to be that fee, and that's just something the customers have to pay. And this is something that you see when, um, and anyways, I don't want to go into the other pieces of that because we're going to go down to different, talking about a whole bunch of different things there. Let's see here. What strategies can an entrepreneur use to build a strong relationship with their bank while ensuring their business's unique needs are met? Strategies to build a strong relationship. A lot of this, happens, th- not only in the first, interview or the first kind of meeting with the bank, it's also ongoing as well. And sometimes, the financial institutions will be, there'll be celebrations, they'll have events where, you know, that they'll hold like a special, event where it's like, okay, we're sponsoring this event or we're throwing this event to celebrate our customers. Those are great occasions to come and see your bankers. Um, Otherwise, the bank tries to get into the communities as well, and you'll see them. Maybe they're on your intramural team, or at least on, maybe you're playing against the bank's team, or maybe they might want to join your team. Or they're very much a part of your communities, and those are the folks that you want to identify. And if there's a nonprofit, you know that you are part of the board on, and let's say you're like, well, I just, this bank, I've known them for 10 years, maybe they might want to consider giving us $500 to pay for, or whatever amount you think, or asking for a donation to help you at this, this yearly event that you've been planning all year. And because you have that relationship, I think that really, like, it not only, does that, are you, really gaining a more stronger relationship with them, but the bank is, you're it's really, it's building the community around, the ecosystem of business that kind of is happening as well. There's all these, different relationships that are happening in the community, and it's really not only just a relationship between the both of you, but between everyone who's a part of those different things like that. Another strategy I guess you could use, or at least think about, um, it would be, let's see here, to build a strong relationship, while ensuring their business team needs are met. Oh yeah, if there's let's say, and a lot of these things, like, they're all like cohesive, or at least they're all in the same kind of groups as far as like events that the banks and other folks are sponsoring. Let's say there's an event or something, or an economic summit or something where, let's say that there's a business plan competition, and you already know someone that's on that panel, or at least you're interested in trying to build a strong relationship with them, and you don't have a loan, relationship with them. And but then you bring up this, you have your great, your business plan competition pitch, and you do a great job, you win the $10,000, the $1 million, whatever it's going to be. And that really, like a lot of that getting out there, it really, like, there's like a relationship, that you're trying to develop as well, not only with you personally, as the business owner, but also just the business kind of meeting all these other folks as well. And I think that's also a great strategy there as well, because a lot of these different conferences, that's why there's a lot of social kind of, gatherings going on. There's a lot of people talking, and you're learning about so much from what all of these organizations are doing, and how they're a part of this, this business ecosystem. And it's nice to kind of be, to really kind of learn more about them, and to kind of see them outside of just sitting at the desk, trying to help you with these specific items, that you're needing for your accounts. Kelsey, let's see what she says, or her question here. How hard is it to change banks after you already created an account, if you find one that is more aligned to the business mission and the community? I think the hardest part of getting a bank account if you live on the reservation is proof of residency, because having a physical location as a mailing address is near impossible if you live in a place that doesn't have rural addressing. This is a great question, and this is actually something that was very big when I was working in the banking world, especially when it came to Navajo business, or at least Navajo account holders, was the whole addressing thing. Some banks, if you don't have it, you can't open the account. And so it's trying to find who those banks are that actually are able to work with you, because some of them, they'll find workarounds or something that, that will help you get the account opened. And so they'll ask you for maybe your light bill, because there might be a physical address on there they can use, or maybe on your driver's license or something, that they can utilize to verify that physical address. And that is a big issue. And I know, First Southwest Bank, they're able to work with native, folks who have that addressing issue, because I had to deal with it over there. And so I think, yeah, that it, but I've worked for other banks or one other bank, that where if you didn't have it, they just couldn't do anything. And so that it just stopped right there. And so let's hear. So how hard is it to change banks? This is where, a lot of banks will have an account changing kind of a kit or a checklist. Like they'll have like a couple sheets of paper that you can utilize as a tool for you to change those bank accounts. And this is when you're changing the relationship to the new bank, on, where you have that first discussion with the banker on what your needs are and how they can accommodate those needs. And so that's where they go through the whole checklist, not only the checklist, but they try to find out exactly what everything that you need to do to utilize to make sure that your business is running to the standard that it was with the other bank, and also to provide solutions to things that you for the reason why maybe you are already leaving that old bank or credit union. And um, so the banks they do try to make this process a little easier for you, And so, once you open that account, they'll get everything for you. They usually are able to get all the things that you need, after that first sitting. And then the next step would just be you being able to move everything over and to start, getting that new account, processing, transactions and getting all the other things kind of moved over. But they try to make that process a little quick, easier and quicker. And but yeah, definitely finding that person at the bank who's going to help you with that will make everything a lot easier for, especially for that process. Um, let's see here. Question is, what are your recommendations for us to keep up with taxes? Do we open up a separate account for deposits, operation taxes, etc., or use one account? This is a great question. I love this question. Yes, I would suggest, I've seen business account owners who do this exact thing. They have an operation account, they have a taxes account, they they have a savings account, they have different accounts that do specific things. And depending on what your business operation is, you might need another account for something different. Let's say you're doing, let's say you're taking deposits for something specific that you don't want to be tangled up in the operating account with the taxes account with the savings account, and you need just a separate one for that. That's where this comes into handy. um, but yeah, that's definitely good. That's a great question. Definitely have an account for taxes, just so that you keep it separate from the operation, and that money has to go to the taxes. um, that's a great question. Let's see the next question. How should small businesses prepare to approach a bank or credit union to maximize the chances of their loan requests being granted? This is where when you start when you start the relationship with bank, and this is where the relationship that Change Labs has with our partnering lenders really comes into play. Because not only did we get these partnering lenders to say, yes, we'll provide capital to Navajo businesses, but also them knowing that folks who are in the Change Labs network, who have been through, Holly and Raquel's ESS trainings and their workshop on businesses, they know that these people are coming with, with all this information and knowledge, to their bank, and they're being referred over through this relationship. That is huge, for especially for this, specific, this ecosystem that we've created here. But one of the ways of approaching, the bank to, to maximize these chances, that's one of them, is where you already know someone who can help you with that relationship. The other is starting, those deposit accounts, starting to get those moving along in the bank, so that, because when you have the, when you're considering, starting the conversation with a banker or a loan officer, a business loan officer, about what, how, different types of products that they might have that you need to use for your business. um, you know when they see that you already have that relationship built with, already inside of their systems, that, they get to see how your accounts are performing. Are you is your account in the positive? um, what types of, transactions are coming through there? um, are you using all the online banking products, things like that? Because, and so, a lot of that, comes into the conversation, and it kind of just makes it a little bit easier, because then they're like, oh, yeah, we've seen you come into the bank a few times, or, like, it kind of builds on that relationship in that capacity there. But, but and that's where, starting the conversation is the first step. The next is really, going through the different types of products and the different needs that you have, as far as like what you need to get that loan. The other piece that you would need to maximize your chances of getting that loan request was what I mentioned earlier, with keeping your financials up to date, the profit and loss statement, the balance sheet. Because one of the things the banker is going to ask you for sure is asking for those financial statements, the profit and loss statement, the balance sheets. This year, up, from January 1st up to today, last year's as well. And depending on the loan amount, if you're applying for a huge loan, they may ask you for last 3 years. So just making sure that you have all those things done, you're doing your taxes on time, you're trying to, make sure that that situation you know, is up to date and ready to go. I think that's a great strategy to use, or a great way to maximize your chances. Especially if your business, if you're growing and you're scaling, you want to make sure that your financials are ready to go when you're not only for the banks, but if you're looking for investors or other people who might want to see how your business is currently performing and things like that. Um, Next is we currently have QuickBooks after this year. And after this year, I don't think I'll need it. Last year, we had two businesses, but we since closed one and would like to simplify the books to our existing business. What would you recommend as another bookkeeping system? There's one that I've heard of, or at least there's one that we have been recommending to members, and it's Wave Accounting. It's a very simple accounting system. We actually recommend this for folks who are not ready to get into all of the transactions for QuickBooks, but they just need something to be able to produce those financial statements that are important. This is a system that you can use for that. The only thing is that there are some connection issues as far as like if you're wanting to connect that software program with your bank, with getting those transactions downloaded. There are some limitations there, whereas QuickBooks has all of them. I think they're able to do everything on that list as far as like for what would be needed to get things into your bookkeeping software. But that's the only one I've heard of. I'm sure there's a lot of them out there. That's where you want to just kind of shop around, um, and kind of see what some of those products might be. And depending on your bank too, they might already have a bookkeeping system that they recommend that works really well with their systems. And maybe just having a relationship with the bank might get you, a free access to it. But yeah, just doing some more research on that front. But we've been utilizing Wave, or at least we've been mentioning that to members who are considering starting, a bookkeeping system for themselves, and it's pretty simple to use. Um, let's see here. And what is the highest loan amount that can be granted from ChangeLabs kinship loans? Currently, we have a microloan program and we have a new loan program that's coming out for NSBCI. These loans will be going up to $50,000. One of the biggest components of this that sets this program apart from traditional financial institutions is the relationship. It's a relationship-based loan product. So that means the the biggest piece of how how your approval odds, or at least how the program operates, is that your time commitment to building a relationship with ChangeLabs and kinship lending is a huge component and a requirement of the program. Other than that, we don't the program doesn't currently utilize credit scores, traditional underwriting standards to give, the approval for these loans. But there are minimum requirements that go along that are required for, to apply for the program. And we could get more into those details as far as when we have those Q&A sessions. For this session, I kind of want to focus it more on the business banking basics. And thank you for your question. That was a good question. Are there any other questions? Raquel, did you have any additional remarks?
I don't. It looks like a lot of our participants have dropped off, but thank you all who has stuck through the end of time today. I know we went a little bit over. If you have any further questions that you don't want to answer in the chat, or if you think of anything after the session ends today, please let us know. Let me share my screen one more time. For those who missed our introduction at the beginning of the session, Bosky did a little bit of a breakdown, or a little more of a breakdown of what the program that he's under of kinship lending here at ChangeLabs. I let the group know that he has coaching appointments available for next week. So if you have any questions about our loan programs, what they entail, how you can get prepared, when the application opens up, you can reach out to our kinship members, Vosky and Christine. You can also look at our website, nativestartup.org/kinship lending or nativestartup.org/NSBCI. And both those loan programs that we have coming up, which the applications are opening, there's a lot more information there. And then Vosky just dropped his email in the chat. You can reach out to Vosky directly. Vosky and Christine will definitely have the best answer for your questions as far as any of our loan programs. Just another note really quick before we end, we do have another event coming up next week. It's another 90-minute workshop, hopefully 90 minutes, with our executive director of Change Labs, Heather Fleming. Heather will be guiding everyone through the critical steps needed to start a nonprofit organization successfully, especially on the reservation. She's going to cover essential topics like raising funds while you're waiting for your IRS approval, incorporating as a nonprofit, securing your first grant and funding. She's also going to be able to let us know how we can, or let us know different strategies and best practices for successfully launching and sustaining a nonprofit organization. So Heather has a ton of experience with nonprofits, all things nonprofit. So I highly recommend you tap into this workshop if you're able to. If you know of anybody who's interested in nonprofit organization, wants to learn the ins and outs, Heather is a great resource. If you have any questions, please reach out to hello@nativestartup.org. And then please don't forget to check out our past workshops on the YouTube channel. This workshop will also be added to our YouTube channels once we get our final edits ready. And then the registrations are up for Heather's workshop at nativestartup.org/event. And if you missed any part of my introduction, see, Doreen, sorry to call you out, but if you have any questions about Change Labs in general, what we do, who we are, what resources we can provide, what kind of services you can tap into, you can visit our website, nativestartup.org, or you can reach out to myself, Raquel at nativestartup.org. Just don't forget the C there. I know a lot of people kind of forget that part, so I don't get their emails. But if you have any questions, reach out via email. You can browse through our website or even just stop by at our Tuba City eShip Hub during our regular business hours. We're open Monday to Friday, 9 to 4 currently. And that's all I have for today. So thank you, Vosky. Thank you, everybody who stuck through the end of here. And then, yeah, that's really all I have for today. Thank you, guys. I hope you have a great day and stay cool out there. It's a really hot day. We'll see y'all later.